Hang on. Trying to set this up here. Hey, Spud. Hang on. Trying to set this up here. Hey, Spud. Crap. Okay, I'll have to do it later. Give me 1 second here, Adam. Give me 1 second here, Adam. 1 second here, Adam. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Trying to get the last bit here set here so that. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Trying to get the last bit here set here so that. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Trying to get the last bit here set so that. Here we go. All right. You make sure. Right. All right. Okay. Let me go ahead and invite him in. All right. Okay. Let me go ahead and invite him in. Hello, Mr. Adam. How are you doing?
That works. Oh, there we go. Can you see me?
Yeah. Well, your cam's not on, but I'm.
Hold on.
We're live here on everywhere that I told you about, so that everybody that knows you can get a chance to get to know you more.
Great. That'd be awesome. Thank you so much for bringing me on the show.
Hey, you're more than welcome. I welcome anybody that's on here that wants people to get to know them more.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm here to do.
Now, for those who don't know you as well, what can you tell people who are more on the sway of not knowing who to vote for in your district?
Sure. So my name is Adam Dorito. I'm a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve. I'm an oil and gas worker, and I'm a substitute teacher up here in Greeley, Colorado. And I moved out to Colorado in 2006. So I've been out here for about 20 years now, mostly just staying in the blue collar industry and the military. And for me, I think the biggest thing that we're missing is the ability to talk to each other and reach across the aisle. And something that I really advocate for that most conservatives don't is critical infrastructure unions. I'm a union member myself. I'm in the United Steelworkers, Local 12477. And unions run a lot of the main critical industries out here, anything from trains, airline pilots, refinery workers, truckers, electricians, the trades. The trades are what really we're focusing on redeveloping in this country. And I think that's something that really reaches across to unaffiliated and even conservative leaning Democrat voters. And I think I'm the guy to do it because the previous person who's been holding the seat, my competitor, has not done anything for this district but only benefit himself. And I want to bring real change to America and really take care of the people that are my neighbors in my community.
Well, that's good to know because a lot of people have issues when it comes to that.
Yeah.
They don't really pay attention to a lot of the voters and what's going on. Now, for some of the things that's going on, what would you do about the federal funding for drought and infrastructure?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I think that was a big mistake was Lauren Boebert trying to push the panhandle, the frying pan project down south. The reason why that was rejected by the Trump administration is because we have representatives who have never worked in this industry and don't understand how water works. I myself, I'm a licensed wastewater treatment operator in the state of Colorado. It's what I do professionally at the refinery. And water is something I really care about. And the problem is that bill only solved the transportation issue. It's going to basically be the Bridge to Nowhere in Alaska project, where we're going to spend, over $1 billion on a pipeline, and it might put water where it needs to be, but it doesn't treat water the way it needs to be treated in that area, taking away the salinity and also the nucleotides from the natural occurring radon nuclear material we have in the soil. So my biggest solution, since I'm a water treatment guy, is to use half of that federal funding to build industrial wastewater treatment plants that can actually remove the contaminants and actually reuse the water in the local area, whether that's from agriculture or lawn care or even gray water systems more effectively versus just dumping it into the ground and leaching it into the aquifers. We are a high prairie state, and we don't have a lot of water, and a lot of our water rights are being taken away from other states due to existing agreements that are well over 100 years old. And those are extremely hard to legislate. A lot of farmers out here have been selling off their land to the county and buying their water rights and taking it away from the people. And water is such an important issue. We need to learn how to bring more water here and take care of it. And one of my more big so-called Elon Musk ideas would be to actually work with some of my fellow congressmen in Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico to reactivate some of those deactivated oil transportation pipelines, reline them in HDPE, and actually use desalinated water from the Gulf of America and near Texas, and bring that water back to Colorado and using it as a resource that we can not only sell, but use as a co-op between multiple states. So instead of just trying to figure out how do we use the water that we have and reduce use, we can actually bring water into the state and actually be a source of revenue and benefit for all Americans.
That's really good policy because not many value the fact that Colorado, with having the river around it, is a very sustainable way of energy and a way of to bring back Colorado.
Yes.
Now, what is your policy when it comes to the budget shortfall caused by the federal government? Because passage of new federal taxes and corporate breaks has created a $1.5 billion shortfall.
Yeah. So this is really easy for me. When I first started working in the oil and gas industry, we were the number 4th largest energy producing state in the country, next to North Dakota, Texas, and New Mexico. We're now, I think, less than number 10 right now. There's been so much unreasonable and unnecessary environmental regulation placed by not only the state, these permits no longer. And we can't provide them. And I worked as an operator in all these industries, upstream, midstream, and downstream. And I can tell you, we want to be stewards of the land. I'm a sportsman myself. I have a bird hunting dog, and I want to take care of the land. I don't want to poison it. But some of the most unrealistic environmental regulations, where some of these industries, like normal wastewater treatment plants or normal industrial facilities, don't even have to meet, but somehow oil and gas companies have to. For example, there is now a new regulation that they're trying to pass here where we have to reduce the amount of PFAS in the water to 24 parts per billion, which is less than a drop of water in the outfall content. There is not a single industry that is required to even meet that, because the technology required, which is not all the way there, is nearly impossible. So if we're already at a 95% efficiency rate, for example, and we're spending $50 million on that filtration system, and it get that extra 5% to get near 100, because you can't always be 100, so 99%, spend another $20 million investing into that technology, it bankrupts the company, it doesn't make them want to invest, and forces them to sell and divest their company. So one thing I want to do is make sure that we can bring back drilling to federal lands as a priority using Trump's emergency energy declaration, and working with the EPA to make sure that the environmental regulations placed by the state of Colorado are not overly exceeding federal regulations that are already protecting our environment. And some of the new technologies we're using now, we could produce 18 oil and gas wells, for example, in a 5-acre area and cover 3 to 5 square miles of oil and gas fracture rock that is over a mile beneath the surface of the earth. And it's something that we're just not allowed to do. So if a company is going to sit on a drilling permit for 1 to 3 years, that's revenue they can't make. So, for example, the company I worked for, Noble Energy, they sold off everything and divested to a larger company. A lot of the hydraulic fracturing fleets left, and we lost over 150,000 jobs since 2012. So think about all that revenue, all that money that's no longer coming to the state. Weld County, for example, used to pride itself on buying everything in cash and being in no debt. And now we're in debt and we can't pay for anything. And the state's in a $1.5 billion deficit. So how is that going to pay for people's health care? How is that going to subsidize the homeless population for reasonable Medicare and Medicare programs that exist for Americans? That oil and gas money can be used to subsidize everything and benefit anybody, no matter what political party you're on. And we just need to use common sense deregulation tactics in order to meet that budget deficit elimination.
Well, that's really interesting because that was going to be the next thing I was going to ask is how do you, what's your policy when it comes to the affordable housing issue and property insurance?
Oh, that's easy. So affordable housing issues, the biggest issue we have right now, especially for millennials and Gen Z, is that corporations are buying up housing projects and single family homes. It is putting us in debt permanently. We're permanent renters. We no longer have the options of the boomers or even like my parents' generation, where they're able to capitalize on their investment in their property and raise a family and afford a home that's reasonable. We're not building these houses out of higher quality materials. They're using illegal immigration to fund these projects and only benefit the corporate welfare system. We need to make sure that Donald Trump and the current administration, and even the administration afterwards, keep in mind, I'm not just planning on the next 2 years, I'm planning on years beyond that, are making sure that corporations can't take away the American dream and make sure that it is illegal for them to do that. And giving also Americans the options to buy condominium complexes in the future. I think that's a great rags to riches story from Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's something he did in order to gain some of his wealth initially when he started powerlifting and was living in a one-bedroom apartment with Frankie Colombo. Was that he invested into a six home condo, and he was able to generate more revenue so he could actually pay to go to his own competitions. That option is currently not available to us because of how corporations are buying up all the housing, which is causing the property taxes to skyrocket. Now, these corporations can pay for it, but Americans can't. And we just need to make sure that the people that sent my generation to war for 20 years are no longer making decisions. And people like me are in office in order to try to change politics for the future that benefit all of our Americans.
That's really interesting. I like the Arnold Schwarzenegger plug there. That was perfect. That was
It's a great
definitely
autobiography if you
amazing.
haven't read it.
I've heard of the story. What's you're talking about making it better for affordable housing? Would you do regulation wise when it comes to the energy transition? Because Colorado's facing federal orders requiring specific coal plants to stay open, advocating for as for the Colorado government reports, to have a smoother transition to renewable energy.
Well, here's the thing. Renewable energy, it definitely needs to be part of the equation, but it can't completely replace fossil fuels, as we like to say. It's not possible. There's not enough energy density. And also, most of those renewable energy sources, such as wind turbines and solar panels, actually use more energy and cost more over the lifespan of their use than they actually will generate. And another thing we need to stop is allowing these electric companies to buy out all the renewable credits so that Americans benefit nothing from it. An example I'll give is that Excel Energy, for example, they used to be able to buy solar panels or lease them and put them on your roof and generate electricity and then reduce the cost that you would pay using being attached to the grid or sell that energy back to Excel Energy. The problem is there's no storage. We can't develop enough batteries for that. We don't use molten salt plants in order to generate heat, in order to store that extra solar energy during peak times. So Excel Energy decided to stop taking away those benefits for Americans. And what they did was they started building massive solar fields and obliterating hundreds, if not thousands, of acres of farmland, agrable farmland that can be used to generate food, and built these giant solar panel fields out by DIA. So now, even if you buy solar panels, one, you're not going to gain any benefit from them by reducing your costs. And two, Excel Energy is not going to give you any electrical kickbacks, and you are still just going to be giving them free electricity, and you're still going to be forced to buy them. So I think some of the regulations that we can modify, for example, if Amazon is going to build a giant warehouse, that all of these new corporate buildings or large structures should be required to have solar panels on them or the Tesla shingle technology. So that way they are reducing their load on the grid that's probably mostly funded by natural gas and the coal plant down south in Pueblo. Now, coal is obviously the so-called dirtiest amount of fuel, but we also have combined cycle coal plants now, which are almost 87% efficient. But there needs to be that transition. That first step in the transition is to build more combined cycle natural gas plants. They're cheaper to build. They're extremely efficient, if not in the 90 percentile. The next thing is Colorado really needs to get back on nuclear power. St. Vrain power plant used to be nuclear in my district, and they converted over to combined cycle natural gas because of the nuclear scare and the technology back then. But we have so many technologies such as the small modular reactors. The Army has even developed something called the Janus program, which they can literally take 5 tractor trailers worth of equipment, back them into each other, and generate a small nuclear power plant to power an entire military base. This would be amazing to use in our mountain towns, in our rural areas where building large electrical infrastructure would be extremely expensive. But centrally locating SMRs and newer nuclear technology out in these remote areas would save the land, because then you don't have to build giant gas pipelines. You don't have to build railways for coal. And obviously, we don't have any oil-fired power plants here in the United States. That's only really in the Middle East. So I think, can you go completely renewable? No. Can you go stay completely fossil fuel? No. But can you combine the best parts of each of them to reduce our effect on the environment, to generate more power at a cheaper rate so all Americans can afford it? Yes.
Well, that's an interesting thought because not many people know about the nuclear past that Colorado had. A lot of people think that Colorado was just gas, oil, not really knowing that they actually had a nuclear power plant there,
Yep.
unless you lived in Colorado.
hmm
When it comes to redistricting, a lot of states are having that trouble when it comes to the fighting for when it comes to the congressional lines, and same with the partisan primaries. What would you do if elected to fight that problem?
The biggest issue with redistricting, it's actually one of the issues I face in my district. My district used to not exist when I first moved out here. And actually, when I was deployed, I was in District 4, which currently is what Lauren Boebert sits in and Ken Buck formerly sat in. When I came back, I was now in District 8, which is a new congressional district that was purposely gerrymandered in order to have the north part of Denver, and 80% of the land is rural oil and gas and agricultural land. So it took away a lot of the power of the agricultural community and the farmers and ranchers, because they were being overwhelmed by densely populated areas such as Denver, Thornton, Brighton, places like that. Now, the biggest issue that we have right now is the amount of election fraud that's been going on in the United States. And I know a lot of people might disagree with it, but I've seen it personally. People know of the Tina Peters case, and that's very subjective between the parties. But something that's not subjective is Eric Holt. Eric Holt, I actually interviewed him on my. I'm going to be interviewing on my podcast, but I actually went down to support him recently. He was a fire chief down in Florissant who witnessed election machine tampering in order to benefit a certain political party. And when he turned those people in and actually provided the video evidence, he was fired from his job. So one of the biggest things that the Democrats are trying to fight now is not having legal ID. So I think one of the biggest issues we can fix is requiring ID for elections. And I'm an intelligence analyst. I have to use an ID for anything, whether I want to rent a car, rent out a hotel, or anything. I don't think it's unreasonable to be an American citizen to vote in American elections. And although we can never be 100% positive of what is causing these disruptions in our election system, Colorado is purely an example of how this has become a major issue here. So I think if we can have secure elections that can be guaranteed, and one thing I would love to pass is make it a national holiday for like 3 days, right? I mean, in countries like Peru and Argentina, it's actually legally required to vote. If you don't vote, you actually get fined by the government. I think if we have two responsibilities that we need to determine as Americans, do we want to be residents or do we want to be citizens? We can be residents. You can take your kids to soccer practice. We can sit here and complain on TikTok all day and complain about the government and what we're going to do to fix it, but nothing's ever going to change. You have to actively participate as a resident. That's one of the reasons I decided to run for Congress. I'm just an oil and gas worker. I'm nobody special. I'm a normal blue collar guy. But when my property taxes are increasing and I'm seeing so much corruption going on in both the parties, I decided to start showing up and start participating. And then I decided I needed to run for Congress because we weren't going to get the changes we needed. So if you want to be a free American citizen and enjoy the best country in the world, you have to participate. So maybe you should go run for local mayor. Maybe you should go be a county commissioner. But we have to participate equally, because if we don't, we're going to keep allowing the best of the worst to be continuously elected.
Okay, I do have a conservative American here who wants to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
I'm going to bring him up so you can ask that. Hello, conservative American. You have Congressman, potential candidate, potential Congressman Adam Dorito here.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I missed the first portion. I'm 29 for TikTok purposes. What party affiliation are you again? Are you affiliating or are you running independent?
I'm registered as a Republican in the state of Colorado.
Perfect. So, I wouldn't put myself in the box of Republican. I'm more of a conservative on issues, and I want to ask you a genuine question on immigration.
Mhm.
So, how I see it is we have declining jobs in America due to AI, and that's just the reality of it.
Mhm.
And the way I see it, immigration is that legal immigration and legal pathways and legal work authorization is more of a threat to everyday American lives than illegal or undocumented immigrants.
Mhm.
And I think when we're bringing in 1.3 million naturalized citizens every year and another nearly 500,000 on work visas,
Mhm.
what does this look like in the next 20 years?
You're correct, and this is actually, I think I'm more conservative. I'm an America First conservative. Let me correct that. I mean, I have to register with the Republican Party, but the problem is that this is something I'll disagree with the Trump administration on. The H-1B visa program is an absolute disaster. It needs to be changed because you're right. People are trying to follow the legal pathways and come in here, but they are taking a lot of the entry level jobs, data entry jobs, things like that, and then everything else is being freelanced out to AI. And using our power consumption. We don't have enough power plants in the state of Colorado. And it's something that needs to stop, right? Is that there should be American jobs for Americans only. And I think there's a big difference between people that call themselves American citizens who've been here for 20 minutes or people that have been American citizens like me, who I have an extended bloodline all the way down to the before the founding of this country. I actually can trace my bloodline all the way down to the original settlers of Plymouth Rock. And every single male in my generation has fought from King Philip's War against the Native American tribes all the way through the Revolution and the Civil War, right? So, and I think people like that and people like you and me really need to take control of this situation. And we need to limit the amount of visas that we provide and make sure that Americans who have been here, who have paid their dues, who are actual birthright citizens, are making sure that we are getting options at jobs first. But that requires all of us to work together to take those actions. We can't just be sitting here and yelling on the internet at our representatives. They don't care. So I need you to show up to these meetings. I need you to work with me to make sure that you're holding not only me accountable if I am elected, but making sure that the rest of the politicians in the state of Colorado, both Democrat, Republican, and independent, are doing just that. And if they're not, you know what we do? We need to fire them and remove them and put in people like you into government.
Amazing. Got you a follow. And you know what? And this is maybe more of a personal and non-political question. I just want to know, like, so I understand you're running,
Mhm.
and you might not have the most societal norm take, similar to me.
Yeah.
Are you in fear of, I mean, not being employed after this, or I
Absolutely.
mean, like, how do you do it? Like, I'm
These
genuinely curious.
I'm not gonna lie, these people hate me out here, right? And not the people. The people love me, like the general. Like I work with these people. These are my people, right? The biggest problem I deal with is the Republican Party. They are so broken and corrupt in this state that they get nothing done. I am not working with the so-called grassroots initiative. I'm not working with the so-called establishment initiatives. I'm running outside as a Republican and not using help from anyone in the state because they have failed. Why would I continue to contribute to people that are failing my state? I think people like us need to really rise up and take the responsibility to throw these people out and fire them. And yeah, I work for a foreign oil company in the state of Colorado. I work for Suncor, right? And they got really mad when I was running because they've been dealing with Michael Bennett and Hickenlooper doing backdoor deals for years. And they know if I get into Congress, I'm going to make sure that they're bought out by an American company and provide more American jobs. And then we're gonna fix those regulations that have been squandering us in court for years and using all of that money in the lawsuits, the environmental lawsuits, as they say, in order to back fund NGOs and fund their political machine, right? I want to stop it. I want to cut it off. I want to challenge Tim Burchett on being the poorest member of Congress by just taking a salary, sleeping on my couch, going to DC for 3 days a week, and coming right back every week to have coffee with my constituents because I do that now because I love the people that I live with. But like I said, I'm taking a huge risk. And if you do a little background research on me, I fought a 15-year fight with the Air Force Academy for covering up rape and sexual assault. And I'm dealing even with people now who are trying to come after my campaign at the highest levels of the Pentagon in that swamp down there that are trying to stop me. So I guess I must be doing the right thing because I'm taking all of the artillery fire.
Amazing. I'll shot you a follow. Keep going, and I'll stay tuned. All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your support.
There you go. That is great questions by a conservative American. If anybody else wants to come up and ask this gentleman any questions while we chat here, you're more than welcome. Send a request in. What is your for your district bringing back small jobs? Because a lot of them had to retire and close up shop during C-19.
Yeah, the biggest thing out here is definitely the agriculture issue. I mean, I met with a lot of farmers and ranchers a couple weeks ago, and they're all old men, 70s, 80 years old. And they're sad because their kids and their grandkids don't want to take over the farm, and they're selling off these lands to developers, and it's destroying what made Colorado the West, right? And I want to give more incentives and more programs, especially on the federal side with the Department of Agriculture, to incentivize taking away taxes on family farms and death taxes and everything else, giving these people a chance that they can make a good, fair living. And work their land and work these jobs. And this is also why I support unions and people in the conservative area. Like, I can't believe you support unions. I'm like, well, I'm in a union. Why would I not support my own job? And I think one of the good things about the critical infrastructure unions out here, which is our critical infrastructure for power, like I said, BNSF trains, airline pilots, all the cops, firefighters, everybody, is that it guarantees us worker protections, guarantees us really good pay with really great benefits. So that's why I said I encourage people to unionize if they have to, because it protects us from the corporate overreach in low wages and employing illegal immigrants or giving Americans a non-fair wage so that it benefits corporations more. I think that if everyone is prospering and benefiting with their job, and that we're giving these Americans the ability to do that and making sure that illegal immigrants aren't taking American jobs. Like my example, my opponent is supporting the Dignity Act. The Dignity Act, which is proposed by Representative Salazar, is allowing another pathway for illegal immigrants to gain citizenship and amnesty. We've tried this for 38 years that I've existed. All I've heard is these proposals of amnesty. It's actually what destroyed the entire state of California under Ronald Reagan. We know it doesn't work. So we have to draw a line in the sand. We have to be bold, proven, and principled. And we have to stand that Americans should come first in everything. And as much as I want anyone who wants to come here and become an American citizen to do that, because we do live in the greatest country in the world. I've traveled to so many third world countries. We have to do it the right way. And there's a good example I like to give. You ever see the movie Saving Private Ryan?
Yes.
So you remember in the end when
cried.
Yeah. So at the end of it, Captain Miller sits on the bridge and he got shot and he's dying. And Private Ryan runs up to him. And the last thing he says to him is, "Earn this." Because those men fought to make sure to protect this country so he could go raise a family and he could raise children. And they lost so much in that war. And the greatest generation, which my grandfathers both fought in, they gave up so much. And I think they'd be turning over in their graves if they saw what happened to this country since the end of World War II. And we need to just be bold and make the decision that Americans are going to come first in everything, including jobs, opportunity, housing, raising a family, and after we fix District 8, after we fix the state of Colorado, then maybe we can fix the rest of the world. But in the meantime, we need to take care of us as the priority and make sure that our country has a future.
Now, there's people that might be wondering what kind of incentive programs or things you would do for somebody who's not a resident of Colorado, who's thinking maybe I might move to Colorado in the next 5 years.
In terms of an illegal immigrant or as an American citizen?
No, like somebody from like California wants to move to Colorado.
Sure. So one thing I'd really like to do is we need to get rid of, well, one, we need a new governor, that's for sure. But two, we need to get rid of all of these massive property taxes. And they keep going after Tabor like it's a free money laundering system. They keep raising all these fees, all these ridiculous fees on even when you register your car, when you're buying a new car. Like, it's insane. Now, as a federal congressman, do I have a lot of power to tell them what to do? No. But I think one of the biggest things that doesn't happen here is that federal members of Congress are not working with state representatives and state senators directly to mitigate those issues. So there could be like more federal grant systems. Like, hey, if you take away these regulations, It's going to provide X amount of dollars to like the Colorado's, Department of Agriculture, so to speak, or the Department of Wildlife to provide jobs or incentives or lower property taxes, or they're going to give you incentives to buy land and build, right? There has to be incentives to move here because right now we're losing people. Everyone's just leaving this state because we're being taxed into oblivion and someone has to stop it. And another way to incentivize taking away is also reducing federal funding in these programs so they are incentivized not to do those things as well. But like I said, we have to draw a hard line in the sand. We're the future, right? And if we don't do something about it, these so-called boomers from the past are going to continue doing business as usual, and it needs to stop with us.
Now, what's your policy when it comes to education? Because a lot of the homeschooling has been popular right now.
Yeah, and the biggest reason it's popular is because we're hiring unqualified teachers. I actually have a lot of teacher friends, and the biggest issue that they're seeing is that they're taking people who don't even have a college degree, who pass an online Colorado State certification test, so to speak, who don't have ideals of maybe actually educating children in math and science, but rather social ideology from kindergarten age up. My biggest thing is I know we have different beliefs. I'm an unapologetic conservative Catholic, so obviously I'm a pro-life person. I'm a pro-2A person. Are we going to agree on those things? No, right? And that's okay to disagree amicably. But what we can agree on is don't touch the kids under the age of 18, right? I think kids need to grow up in an education system like I did. I grew up in New Jersey, and they had a great education system there where the teachers really focused on getting us to pass our SATs and get us into college if we wanted to go there. Another big thing in Colorado that I really want to focus on, especially in District 8, is the trades. There are so many kids out here who never want to go to college and they don't want to put themselves in all those debt. We have a lot of these closed buildings and closed schools, and something I want to incentivize a lot of the trucking industries, electricians, plumbers, all these great paying jobs, is to bond together where if these kids complete a 2-year program, they're guaranteed an apprenticeship, they're guaranteed a job in the industry, and they can make 6 figures a year and take care of their families and buy a new car, and buy food and all of these things. So my biggest focus for education is one, getting rid of unqualified teachers to incentivize the public school system to grow again. Because, like you said, homeschool is really popular, and I definitely support school choice. But if there's no one going to public school, then why are we still paying for it? But so I think we need to reform the education system with different teachers that are actually qualified, and then on top of that, putting a lot of focus in the trades and what make the American Western states like Colorado great. And like I said, I work in the trades. I love the trades. I don't want to ever get out of the trades. It's great. I love working with my hands and fixing things. And I want to bring those jobs and those incentives and those opportunities back here.
Now, when it comes to the division that's between, you were talking about earlier, when it comes to left and right, Republican, Democrat, what would you do if elected to kind of unite both parties?
Well, one, the leadership needs to be replaced. I think we need to have a hard conversation that the leadership in the Democratic Party and the leadership in the Republican Party, who's been around for 20, 30 years, are not cutting the mustard anymore. They need to be removed because they just keep hiring their friends. It's the same 20 to 30 people over and over again, recycling the same loser candidates, right? And this is why we're failing so much as a state. That's why we don't have good representatives. I mean, literally, there was a Democratic elected representative here who put up a bill that actually got passed where if there's not a sticker on a gas pump that says by purchasing this gasoline you're damaging the environment, it's a 20,000 fine per gasoline pump per day for that business. Who asked for that, Don? What constituent asked for that law to be passed? But they have no problem raising our taxes or building a train that's going to cost $20 billion, up the Front Range, or building a bridge in front of the Capitol, which thankfully got canceled by the VFW. Right? Is that these people, they're honestly not intelligent. They're not having conversations like us, and I think more people who are actually intelligent who say government's not for me, I don't want to deal with the circus. Well, it's your fault. It's your fault as an educated, well-off American that you're not running for government because it requires sacrifice. Like I said, with the Saving Private Ryan example, is that we have to earn this, and if we don't, we're going to allow the best of the worst to keep running the government, and we need to stop them from doing that.
That is a good point. Now, with the whole issue that's happening in New York, since you said you're from New Jersey, correct?
Yeah.
Uh, Zohan Mondani has a where you have to get a license, show your license, proof of identification, just to push snow.
Yes, but you don't need a vote. You don't need an ID to vote, right? That's insanity to me, and it's so sad. I mean, the thing is, like when I grew up on the East Coast, most of the Democrats are basically Republicans today. We call them blue dog Democrats, right? They were for the working people and the poor people and everything else. And we didn't mind it too much. We all got along. We all could have dinner together. It wasn't so divisive as it was today. But I think the problem in New York is that things got so bad after COVID. People lost so much money and so many companies left that these younger generation kids were so desperate for change that anything was better than someone who's been in politics for over 20 years like Kuma, right? And they elected the option that they thought was the best because it was just so much drastically different. But now you're seeing New York City catastrophically fail. They made a big mistake. They're going to be eating crow by the time they figure this out. I don't want to see that happen here. I'm a radically different candidate than my opponent. I'm a radically different candidate than even any of the Democrats trying to run. But I'm radical in the way that I'm bringing back, I hate to say this trivial term, but common sense. Because I do live here and I do work here and I work with these people and I love them like my brothers and my sisters, no matter where they come from. And I think we're all just tired of the circus. That's why you just have to step into the fray. And we need to take responsibility for elections and we have to get out and vote. I mean, here's the biggest thing is that midterm elections, you're going to get less than a 25% participation rate. You're an American, you're a free American, and you're saying that you're not taking the opportunity to vote. And if we don't, then they're going to game the system. They're going to stack the board. They're going to go out and they're going to bust people in to vote. And I've seen it happen. It happens all the time in Colorado, right? So every American needs to vote. We all need to participate, and we actually have to choose our candidates. That's why I'm hoping people in District 8 learn more about me and they learn who I am and know that I will not fail. And if I do, and if I can't do the job, it's your responsibility to fire me and put someone else in my place who can.
That is, I do appreciate it because what I was going to say is, how would you fix that so that in your district, in your state, stuff like that wouldn't happen? But you completely answered that. Common sense is the major key when
Yeah.
it comes to this. Now, is there anything else you want people to know that don't really know much about you that are
I
kind
mean,
of
for
up in the air?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I wrote a whole book about my autobiography about my case and my life and my stuff and what got me involved into politics. And I was hoping to end the book on passing legislation and walking off into the sunset. But when I saw how corrupt these people were and how they refused to pass legislation to protect our military veterans, I realized I had to take the responsibility and run myself. So instead of ending the book on passing legislation and calling it good, I ended the book on saying, well, I guess if they are not going to do it, I'm going to do it myself, right? So please go to my website. It's Derito, DERITO, 4FOR, Congress.com. Learn about my 5 points on bold governance, American agriculture, American energy, transparency, and veterans. Please reach out to me on social media, TikTok, Instagram. That's the best way to reach me. I will meet with you. I will have all the conversations that you have been dying to have with people running for government. I don't have anything that's pre-scripted. There's nothing in front of me that I'm talking to you about. This is all off the top of my head. This is all off the cuff. And we need to elect more Americans who can give real answers versus canned comments that are written by some consultant, right? We don't need any more Muppets. We don't need any more Jim Henson Muppets out here. I'm definitely not a Muppet. I'm not a perfect guy. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, just like everyone. But we need more real Americans to run. And I just want to thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. And I look forward to meeting everyone in District 8 and in the state of Colorado at my future meet and greets.
Well, Adam, yeah, it is an honor to have you here. You're more than welcome back anytime. And I'm from Pennsylvania. If I was in Colorado, I definitely would vote for you. You seem like
Thank
you
you so
know
much.
pretty much. You seem like you know pretty much more than I've heard any other candidate know about when it
I
comes to
know,
the
right?
state.
And I'm just a normal dude.
And that's what we need. We need people that actually know what they're doing and know about the state to actually make a difference.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Well, hey, I welcome back. Like I said, you're welcome back anytime. If
Awesome.
anybody else has any questions here, I'll let Adam go here. And if anybody else wants to follow him, please do. He sounds like he's a good candidate to vote for if you're in Colorado.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, like reach out to me anytime. My Instagram is adam.dorito2010 or Dorito for Congress. Either one works, and I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Adam. You have a safe night there, and
You
I'll
too.
definitely reach out to you. if you need any assistance when it comes to campaign wise.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Well, everybody, you heard it here. That is Adam Dorito for Congress in District 8 of Colorado. An opinion? My co-host here?
We need more. We need more people like that. He reminds me, his responses remind me a lot of Fetterman's response, and Fetterman's been one of the only ones.
Well, no, Fetterman's responses when he first was running was a little bit sketchy.
Well, when it
He's
comes
got more
to
of a
now,
head on his shoulder.
Yeah, but when it comes to now, he's the only one that really has shown that he wants to take and vote.
And he's not saying he's like diehard Republican,
No.
but he believes what he believes in can actually make a difference in
He's
Colorado.
got a good frame of mind, and I hope they get him in so that he can make the changes that he wants to make, because he's really thinking.
I mean, you
forward.
know Colorado.
Yeah.
You used to live up there.
Yeah. Colorado.
All the issues that we talked about, is that issues that you noticed when you were up there?
Didn't notice this, and I lived on the military, right off the military base in Colorado Springs. So, I mean, Fort Carson was big up there. And I wasn't in that much into politics at the time, so I couldn't answer for you though on that.
Well, I
But everything that he's saying makes total sense, and is, I mean, especially when it comes to the water treatment and such, because up till now they've just been pretty much dumping out the bathwater.
that's pretty much the downside of the whole thing when it comes to Colorado.
Well, it causes pollution, and he's got a way around that, which is good. So,
Do you think with him, if he gets elected, Colorado's going to see some change?
oh, definitely, because he wants to go in there and get the current leadership out, because they have not done anything constructive their time in office. So there's got to be a lot more people with that gentleman's frame of mind getting elected in, so that they can clean up all this stuff, and that way Congress and the Senate will flow better when it comes to getting stuff done.
Well, that definitely also special thanks to the people who actually came into Total Live and actually asked good questions.
Yeah, that was wonderful.
We had a total of 4 people in here. We would have loved to have had more, but we understand if you weren't able to do it. Like the gentleman said, you can follow him at his channel and then ask him the questions as well. He's more than welcome back here anytime he wants. Same with anybody else we've interviewed. And that is tonight's episode. So let's end it with our outro. Let's end it with our outro.
glove. The Fallen, you got a glove. Witchy Mama, Cassie, Bucky, Stephanie, Nurse Motley, Tasty Cakes, and Edit. Let's frickin' go. That's what I'm talking about. Well, listen, I hope you have a fantastic Taco Tuesday Eve.
I was about to say, what the fuck? It's not Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday Eve. Yep.
Yeah, not having tacos anytime soon, so that
No.
sucks.
Oh, your husband can have a taco if he wanted.
That's not me having a taco.
Well, it doesn't matter. If you get your taco eaten, it counts for Taco Tuesday.
No, I'd rather eat a taco.
Oh, then go eat a taco. T Strongman, welcome in.
Not Tuesday.
Go to Taco Bell. Yeah, but it's Taco Tuesday Eve.
But who goes to Taco Bell to eat tacos?
Every authentic Mexican cuisine loving person that has available Taco Bells within their vicinity.
Bull